Hello, this is Paula, and this is the Common Book Show. And I am here with Richard, and alas, my Lori is here today, and James, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Maddie.
Maddie. Maddie is smart. You're going to like her. And, of course, my son, Tom, on drums. So we're going to start off this with a book that I've been listening to on Libby, which I talk about every week. And it's called The Dawn of Everything. And it's a new history of humanity. And it's really super cool. It's a little high-toned. I'm not recommending that you read it. I'm just going to tell you something that I found out that I thought was just remarkable. So we all know about the Enlightenment, and we all think about the Enlightenment happening in Europe, and the fact that all these people started thinking differently, started moving away from maybe God in a sense, but we all think of it as a European thing. Well, it turns out that this guy's postulating that there was a man, a Native American. He was his Kandi Iran. Okay, so he was a leader, and he was a brilliant man, and he had a conversation and an interview with this Baron Louis Armand Lahontan, and he interviewed him, and he wrote down everything that he said. And he published this book when he went back to Europe. And now it seems that a lot of these Enlightenment ideas come from this Native American man who was up in the Montreal area, the French part of, the colonies. And everybody who had an education read this book, and these ideas permeated the consciousness of the people in Europe. And so there's a quote here from this. Okay. I guess it starts here. Okay. So this is Kandi Iraq. It says, I've spent 6 years reflecting on the state of European society, and I still can't think of a single way they act that is not inhuman, and I generally think this can only be the case as long as you stick to the distinctions of mine and thine. I affirm that what you call money is the devil of devils, the tyrant of the French, the source of all evils, the bane of souls, and the slaughterhouse of the living. To imagine one can live in a country of money and preserve one's soul is like imagining one can preserve one's life at the bottom of a lake. Money is the father of luxury, lasciviousness, intrigues, trickery, lies, betrayal, insincerity, of all the world's worst behavior. Fathers sell their children, husbands their wives, wives betray their husbands, brothers kill each other, friends are false, and all because of money. In light of this, tell me what we, Wandakot, are not right in refusing. We are not right in refusing to touch or so much as look at silver. Do you seriously imagine that I would be happy to live like one of the inhabitants of Paris? To take 2 hours every morning just to put on my shirt and makeup? To bow and scrape before every obnoxious galoot I meet on the street who happens to have been born with an inheritance? Do you actually imagine I could carry a purse full of coins and not immediately hand them over to people who are hungry? That I would carry a sword but not immediately draw it on the first band of thugs I see rounding up the destitute to press them into naval service? If, on the other hand, Europeans were to adopt an American way of life, by American he means native at this point, it might take a while to adjust, but in the end, you will be far happier.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Is this person offering a solution to the money as the source of all evil?
Yes, to live like the Native Americans live, which is in
barter?
In commune, to share, to live, not to own any property, to live like the hippie commune. If you think about that,
Right.
where there's a only a very slight hierarchy. There's one person in charge who, but it's a way of living where everybody's taken into consideration. He couldn't believe what he saw in the streets, poor people who were hungry. He said that would never happen where we are. Everyone shares what they have with each other, and so basically the Enlightenment was talking about how, the distribution of wealth and no more royalty and all this other stuff. And so this is the guy where these ideas came from, and of course never been acknowledged because the Europeans just took it as their own. But this was a book that was widely read during that time. This was not some little, untried, manuscript. It was a book that was read by everyone because it was interesting. People were interested in Native Americans. And so yes, I just thought this was fascinating. And I wish I could...
So this could have even affected Karl Marx.
They talk about that in the book. They say that the ideas from the fair distribution of wealth and all those ideas, they affected people all the way up into the communist, the idealized version of communism,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my contribution because
Well, we have sitting at the table a student of economics.
Yeah. So
would you say that the current economic system and the injustices could be remedied with an improvement, like a radical improvement?
I think the only, at this point in time, the only thing that would necessarily, change the trajectory of where we're going is going with a different ideal of, right now we're under a capitalist society.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and that is also true with capitalism. So I think, especially, if you look at the United States in terms of any other developed nation, we don't have free health care, we don't have free public education. And all of those things, once again, kind of tie into your human capital and your general welfare, and welfare being a description of how happy the populace is as, in general, like as a whole. And, that ties back to your productivity. Even in today's day and age, I think about it all the time. We talk about it a lot, too, in my classes. We are the most productive that we've ever been. GDP is highest than it's ever been, and yet the disparity between the high income, the people, the 10 or 20 people in the United States that own over 50, 60, 70% of the wealth versus the other people who are, not eating to afford rent. It's, I wouldn't necessarily have the solution because I don't necessarily believe in socialism either, but I believe in kind of like a mixed economy.
The problem with socialism is that humans, not all, but there's a large section of humans that are motivated by greed. So socialism would be, look what happened with the capitalist nations. The people on the hierarchy in communism, they had nice apartments, they had nice cars, they had drivers, they had people waiting on them, and then there's the people in the fields working the fields, and they're supposed to be sharing what they grow, and they're not getting enough to eat. So it doesn't necessarily work either. But there is an ideal. There is some capitalism. There could be a way to utilize capitalism in an altruistic way. If we had higher taxes on the rich, for instance, those things we maybe could afford health care and a better lifestyle for people at the bottom.
Correct, and unfortunately it ties into, our system as it pertains to the government, the House of Representatives, Congress. We don't have any sort of checks and balances to keep these big corporations from lobbying. These people with all the money. Yeah, we could talk about that for this whole hour. It is absolutely ridiculous that, if I had $1 million, I could go to a representative and I could get my agenda pushed. you know.
Yeah. Well, you probably need more than $1 million now. You know, prices are going up. So, anyway, so this is the first time that Lori's been on this show for quite some time, and I want to welcome her back.
Thank you. Thank you.
We usually go to Richard because he's got a list, and we haven't done this show for weeks now. So you've got
Oh yeah, I got a lot of things to talk about.
A long list, I'm sure.
Hey, before we start,
Yeah,
I'll bring up a little topic.
sure.
When people talk about how much more money the CEOs of the automobile manufacturers make
Yeah.
in comparison to the workers,
Mm-hmm.
do you think they have a legitimate? The unions have a legitimate argument,
Absolutely.
and saying, "Look, you're making like hundreds of thousands of
Right.
dollars more than the average worker."
No,
and
but
how
it's
do you
the percentage.
justify
It's
that?
the percentage. It's
Yeah,
not. It's
yeah.
not the amount of dollars. It's the percentage.
Yeah.
In the 1950s, the percentage it was a reasonable amount of difference between the percentage wise of what the workers were making and what the not owners, but the CEOs were making.
Because of what they
now it's like it's 100 times that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the unions. Without unions, we would not have a 5-day work week. We would not have. There'd still be child labor. We wouldn't be able to without unions. Rich people don't give away shit. They don't give away shit.
I agree. Yeah. It's income disparity is
Yeah.
what it boils down
But
to.
what do they do with all the money that they're making?
They
That's
go
the-
to
reinvest it.
space.
No, they're not going to
Yeah.
say this.
You can make yourself richer with just having money is a way to make
Do you know
more
what?
money.
When I worked at Forbes, I worked in the financial department. When I worked at Forbes, my boss used to invest over the weekend. He would call up a bank and he'd say, "I want to invest $4 million over the weekend," and they'd make enough money to pay my paycheck for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really like disheartening, you know. I hope to God my boss doesn't watch this. I know it's not the same in every company, but my boss, you know, for example, I'm the accountant at the financial consulting firm, and I get to see how much money this man has because he takes his own personal capital, invests it
Yes.
into the business, right?
Right.
He won't even type an email. He dictates all of his emails. He won't even check his own email. We have to tell him when he gets an email in. Like, beyond the money part of the business, he does nothing. He does nothing. And what, you know, and he'll look at me and tell me that I'm lucky to be making the amount of money that I make. And I'm working, you know, I'm doing half of his job for him. Like, what are you doing as the owner of the company?
But as a woman, you will always end up taking on more responsibilities. And I know, James, you don't even want to talk about this. I want Richard. Okay, can we can defer to Richard for something from his list.
Before we do, you're so right, because my boss has literally looked me dead in the eyes and said to me, the only way as a woman that you climb the corporate ladder is doing multiple people's jobs at once.
Yeah. And it is true. But I used to do my boss's job because I knew he couldn't do it. And if I would have depended on him to do the top level work, nothing would have gotten done. So I used to let him make the phone calls. That was all I let him do.
And
that's when I was a secretary. Yeah. That's when
And I even feel embarrassed in the emails that he, you know, dictates to me, and I send out, like, it'll be 7 paragraphs of nothing but word vomit. And I'm like, what even is this? Like, I don't want to press send on this. But at the same time, like, it's not even an option. I've written emails and, like, shown them to him, and he wants to do it himself, but he doesn't want to do it himself. He wants you to do it for him so he can say he did it.
yeah.
But, Lori, were you making the point? There's a threshold. If you have so much money at one point, anything else, you can't even spend it.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is that what do you do with all that money? You know, it's. I try to imagine that amount of money. I mean, I have a certain amount of money,
Mhm.
and I have things that I need to do with it.
Yeah.
But then when I look at what if I had more money? What if I won the $1.5 billion lottery?
Yeah.
What would I do with the money?
Yeah.
And there's nothing. I can't think of anything other than trying to be philanthropic with it.
Yeah. Well,
There's why would you do anything other than try to help other people's situations with that much money? I don't need to do anything with it. I'm living fine. I'm eating.
there's a happiness quotient, and I don't remember where I was listening to this. There's like $110,000 is this magic place where you are happy and you have enough money to take care of all your needs, but when you start going over that, you start worrying more and more about your money and your investments and everything else, that your happiness goes down
Yeah.
away from. But I would just like to know what it's like to live with 110,000.
Yeah, me too.
Woo!
That's twice my yearly salary. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would like to know what that's like, just for a little while.
Well, I think what you're both saying is you'd like to have enough economic stability that there was no stress in your life.
Right.
You know? And I think that's an admirable
Yeah.
goal to have.
My superpower is living on nothing. That's my superpower. So, I'm so used to that. I've always had that. I was a single mom. I was on welfare for the first 4 years of my daughter's life, and I'm used to living on nothing. So I can make do with less. But I would like to have that situation where I wouldn't have to. That would be fun for a little while.
And I think because I came from a background where my parents were both we were very poor. We're talking like wear your winter coat inside of the house in the winter because we don't have heat type of poor.
Yeah.
Going to bed hungry type of poor. And to me, what that did to me is I work 60 hours a week. Sometimes I'm pushing 70 and I'm in college.
Yeah. You got to read some of these books I'm reading about keeping some space for your head and your you got to read some of these books.
If I get a choice between my stress, I would rather have the stress of working way too much. Like it's a victim mindset that people put themselves in. I don't make enough money because I don't make enough money. There's nothing I can do about it.
Well, no, money isn't everything. I retired early because I wanted my freedom. I bought my freedom at a price, and that's okay because I have a superpower. But anyway, so do we want to continue talking about economics? Or
No, I wanted to talk about my first topic.
Okay, go ahead.
50 years ago, it was 1973.
Okay.
In 1973, does anybody have a suggestion as to what a lot of people were talking about in the country?
Women being able to open their own bank accounts.
No.
Not yet.
One more year for that.
One more year.
Was the Vietnam War still going on?
Yeah. Yes, because it ended in 74.
Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of people were talking about the debate of how should the Supreme Court rule in Roe versus Wade.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. Now, what else happened in 1973? A movie came out that people were lining up out of the movie theater all the way around the block to get in and see it.
In 73?
Yeah.
I don't remember back. I mean, I was
That's
there.
before
I just
Jaws.
don't
That wasn't Jaws.
It was The Exorcist.
Oh, good Lord.
So now let's compare
Connection, okay.
these two things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Roe versus Wade debate was a struggle, right,
Mm-hmm.
between religious people and non-religious people as to who controlled the female body.
Okay.
The
fair.
Exorcist is a movie between religious people and non-religious entities in this case
Yeah.
as to who controls a female's body. Coincidence?
Do you
Interesting.
do you think there was any subtext to that movie?
Well, this is the point I'm asking about. And this is what intrigued me when I saw this in the New York Times. I said, I think that they're implying that when a movie resonates and a lot of people want to go see it, it's because on a subconscious level, it's reflecting something that's going on in the public discourse.
Huh. I mean, I would have never made that connection. That never would have occurred to
No.
me. Did you see? Are you old enough to have seen The Exorcist?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's he see? No, he's a baby.
Well, no, I mean because I think you're younger than I am, and I was in high school, and I saw it. But if you were in grade school, would you have seen that movie?
My mother took me to wholly inappropriate movies while I'm saying, I want to see Bambi!
Oh, I'm sorry. I wish I could help.
You're a sweetheart.
Yeah,
Oh.
I like the idea of that, but I mean I would have never come up with that myself. Who was it a writer that you read a lot?
There's some good writers at the New York Times, very imaginative,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I'm glad that you have that opportunity to because
Thanks to you.
My mother-in-law gets
She gave me the code to read the New York Times.
because I get four free online because my mother-in-law gets the paper at the assisted living. And then we go out and she says, I think I'm going to buy a New York Times. And I said, you get it every day. She forgets. So yeah.
when we were talking about this other new movie out now, No One Cares About You, where a woman is in a small town that gets invaded by aliens, and everybody, and this woman's always been an outcast all her life in this town. People shun her. They had bad experiences with her when she was a kid. Well, she fights off the aliens until she can do no more, and then they capture her. They scan her brain, and the aliens say, whoa, the amount of trauma you've had in your life, and they release her without reprogramming her. And the movie doesn't explain why. And I thought, oh, I know what it was. The aliens were empathetic. Oh, you've suffered enough. Let's put you back in the community without doing anything. Paula said, no, the aliens realized they couldn't fix her. That this is way beyond our scope.
we can't rewire this.
Yeah, we can't rewire this person. So that would be an example of, I think you said that it was, in a way, it's almost like the Exorcist thing. You're trying to control the female mind.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah, and also it's also because we have two different opinions about this. It's also like it's so because everybody has different stuff in their minds, and it's going through all these filters. It's amazing people can even have conversations together because we're, the word tuna might have a really negative impact. Maybe I had food poisoning and I had tuna, and every time I hear the word tuna, I go crazy.
Oh, well, in the whole Gaza. Israel versus the Gaza people. People have a very short skin if you compare it to either the Warsaw Ghetto or the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Triggers different things.
Yeah, it does. And I think, we got some people. Oh, Mick, okay.
Rambo.
So the thing is, it's Hamas. It's not the Palestinians that want this war. It's Hamas.
Well, one day my uncle said to me, "What did you learn in school this week?" Because he was in the military.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, we learned about the dropping of the atomic bomb, and how it was a bad thing because we were attacking civilians when we were at war against the army of Japan."
Yeah.
You know what he said? He said, "No, that's wrong. We were fighting the Japanese people." See, he was in the military. Because I immediately, when he said that, I thought, wow, that's what they taught you in the army. You're not fighting the Japanese army, you're fighting the Japanese people. So that's how he justified it. But now, with this Israeli counterattack,
Yeah.
are they fighting Hamas, the Palestinian army,
Well, that's
or are
what,
they fighting the Palestinian
that's
people?
what Biden. Did you hear the speech that Biden gave when he was there? He talked to them and he said, don't make the same mistake that we made when we were attacked. Don't act out of
Revenge.
revenge or not so much revenge, but when your anger is high, when you're so angry that you can't control yourself. Rage. Don't act out of rage. He says, because look, we made mistakes. And he actually admitted, he said, we made mistakes when we did that. So don't make the same mistakes that we made. I thought, wow, that's a position. I mean, for a president to admit that, I thought that was a really powerful thing to say. Our last president.
A lot of
wouldn't have
people
said
did.
that.
A lot of people did.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's not an easy situation.
No, it's not.
No. Good Lord,
it's not an easy situation, and I think I feel. I mean, here we are, in the United States. We have an
Isolated from
ocean
it.
on
Isolated
both sides,
from it.
and even before 9/11 happened, I thought, we're really in a place where we're exempt from all of this violence, and I thought we were exempt from having to wear masks, and I thought it's just the world's becoming smaller and smaller, and now they're expecting that there might be some attacks.
Unless you have a
country.
connection, unless you have a familial connection to the conflict.
Yeah.
Unless you have a familial connection to the conflict, unless you're an Israeli, unless you're a Muslim, unless you're black, unless you're Asian American, in any conflict, if you have a familial connection naturally, you're going to feel this.
Right.
This is
Now, I have
hurting me internally.
Right. I have a friend. My friend Dennis has family that lives in Israel, but they live in the north. Right. So they're not really affected, but it's affecting him a lot more than other people because he has family that lives there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a friend who was Palestinian. The barber shop. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
ever.
I remember you mentioned there's a guy in the Ellicott Square named Sam who used to cut your hair.
Well, he didn't cut my hair because he only cut men's hair. But he had a woman there that cut my hair. But he married a woman who was Palestinian, who came back, who was living in Jordan, and she married him. And she didn't know English, so we got to know each other. But it was really hard because of the language barrier. But I think about them in Jordan now and what that must be like because they moved back when he retired. They moved to Jordan, so they're living there, and I haven't heard from either one of them since they moved. Of course, I'm not really. I don't think they're on Facebook, but the thing is, I think about them. They're close by, and my friend Dennis's family lives in Israel, but even when. Okay, this is what, as a woman, as a mother, this is what I think. How would I explain to my children bombs? And how would I protect them? And where would we go if our house was set on fire? I think about it. I try to put it in a personal perspective, and I can't even imagine what those people must be going through. I can't watch the news anymore. It's the pictures are too devastating. I can't watch it. Why are we still so stupid? What is wrong with us? What's wrong with human beings? Why haven't we evolved to a point where we don't have to do this anymore?
May I show you a cartoon about that?
I don't know.
Does it have bodies?
No, it's about it's about TV news.
Okay, all right.
A person goes to a Halloween party, and the person he goes with says, "I told you your TV news costume was too much," because the people at the party are fleeing.
Oh, it's a monitor.
And what I love about this cartoon is there's a kind of horror that is safe and friendly.
Yeah.
Then there's the kind of real horror that is scary.
Yeah. Well, one time I went to a costume party 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who was not from the United States.
Yeah.
He was from some other country, and he didn't really understand about Halloween.
Yeah.
So all the people told him was, dress as the scariest thing you can imagine.
Uh-huh.
He dressed as a Nazi,
Yeah.
and he got so much flack from the people at the party that it was inappropriate.
It's too real.
It was too. It was inappropriate, and he said, "But it's the scariest thing I can think of."
Yeah.
You know,
good Lord, yeah.
and it you know, I mean, it was just weird
Yeah.
because everybody was like, you know, a Nazi, you know, but he followed directions, right?
A lot like that cartoon.
Yeah, he followed directions. Okay, so James, I haven't heard from you at all. What do you want to talk about? What have you been into?
I've been working my patootie off, so my brain is kind of.
You're a little fuzzy because you're drinking too.
Hey, I've been drinking.
Well, you're a little fuzzy too.
I'm not fuzzy though.
Yeah. So okay. So any new finds online that you haven't sent me?
He did.
Actually,
You remember that one I said we should bring it up on the show?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Now we
Let's
got
see if I
something.
can show you what it was here. It's one of James's favorite subjects.
Well,
Girls,
while he's
girls.
looking for that, there was this one that happened recently. This woman posted a TikTok saying that she met this guy on a dating app.
Uh-huh.
And then she asked him if he knew anyone who was a professional who could fix certain things. And he said, well, he actually can do that stuff.
Like mechanical things?
She wanted some things built
Oh, okay.
and a couple things at her house she needed fixed. And he says, well, I can do that stuff. She said, oh, well, okay. How about I pay you X amount of money and you come over and you build my things and you fix my other thing. And so he comes over and he does all of that. And because it takes a while to do all of the stuff that she wanted done,
Yeah.
she decided to get dinner.
Okay.
And they were talking over dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And he's already done all of the work. And they have dinner and they're talking and they hang out for a few hours after he was done doing all of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she decides, wow, he'd be really useful to have around. Maybe I should date this guy. And as he's leaving, he says, I'll text you my app information so that you can send me the money that you owe.
Yeah.
Exactly. She
Yeah.
gets PO'd because...
He gives her a bill.
But that's what they agreed.
Exactly!
See, you're just hanging out with the wrong women. No,
I'm not hanging out with this chick. I'm just saying the point. The thing is, she posted this online.
Yeah.
And she's saying, don't you agree with me? He shouldn't have given me a bill.
No,
And
I
it's-
don't agree with her.
Exactly.
I think that
So
he.
you're not even dating yet.
No. The fact that just because she finds him interesting doesn't mean she doesn't owe him for his time.
Exactly.
So did you tell her that?
Well, I'm not talking to this person. She posted this online and it went viral, so I don't even know the chick.
Oh, okay.
But the point is,
And
it's now
didn't-
this
but didn't-
debate.
But didn't most people agree that she should have paid him?
No, the crazy thing is how it's shaking out, that a lot of people are saying that just because they shared dinner after he finished doing all of the work and talked after he was done doing all the work,
No.
that he should have just not accepted any money from her.
No.
And et cetera, et cetera.
No,
and
this
he
is
was a
what-
jerk for even bringing it up.
No, I do not agree with that at all. No. No. She contracted with him to do this work, and she owes him money. And if they do become a couple and he wants to do some stuff for her, because they're a couple, that's different. But
Right.
but this is money.
Business.
This is time.
Business.
Time is money, and she owes him money.
Yep.
Okay, so what's the one that he sent you that you're smiling about?
Well, see, the problem is sometimes he sends it to me on
Messenger.
Messenger, and sometimes he sends it to me on
The phone,
text.
yeah.
So I have to look through both.
Well, so they got
Here
a
it
lot.
is.
Oh, okay.
How do you make this open up in a new window, though? Do you know?
If you just click on it, it should come up into a new window.
Now, Mr. Windsor, how do I make this bigger?
Stroke
Okay,
it
go ahead. Now
Stroke it
now
on its side.
Put it on the screen. There we
Right?
go. Now,
Am I
can you
right?
read it to us, James? Because it's hard to read.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Right here.
I can't read it from here.
I can read it. Seeking high-valued man, healthy in shape, make at least $60,000 annually, 401k and life insurance, no more than 2 kids, and handsome.
and handsome.
What does it say in red? That's like it's at
Follow,
something.
blah, blah, blah.
Follow at.
Yeah.
Well, she feels that she's got value, and she feels that she should get a good guy. I applaud her.
Sure.
Let me ask you a question. What about a woman's size determines her inherent value? What about anybody's size, a woman or a man? What about the way that your body looks determines what value you pose to somebody else?
They say it's not how big it is, it's what you do with it.
And I agree with
Alright.
you. I've seen some gorgeous big women. I've seen gorgeous
Yeah.
small women. I've seen hot ass big men. And
I think that we should be past that in the conversation. I think that women, and I mean, there's a lot of evidence out there that there's something going on in the world that's causing us to be bigger. I think maybe it's less exercise, maybe it's more sugar.
It's helium.
And it's also, yeah. And so the thing is, we're all heading toward a future of larger people. That's the way the world is shifting now. And so she values herself, and I applaud her for valuing herself.
There are separate things going on here. Now, as far as people in America skewing bigger,
Yeah.
we're in a toxic environment.
Stress. Too much stress.
There's the stress. There's the chemicals in the food.
Exactly.
There's
Carbohydrates.
MSG, which,
No, I don't. Yeah, I can't even.
So, on the one hand, there's all of that stuff.
Yeah.
you're not even touching the secondary condition portion of it either, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my point is simply these are separate things. Everyone skewing bigger has a lot to do with our environment, our food,
Yeah.
our so-called medical care.
Yes.
And that's one set of things over here. But the thing that people don't look at with something like that
Okay.
is that's the same woman who will say, I won't date a man below 6 feet tall.
So she's body judging, is what you're saying, because she did say handsome. I mean, handsome is. I mean, we've all had the experience where somebody doesn't look so hot to us when we first meet them, and then we get to know them and we like who they are, and all of a sudden they're handsome.
Do you want the Golden Bachelor?
I've had.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, I have had that experience where I had a therapist when I was 20 years old. My therapist was the ugliest. I mean, if you would see, in Webster's dictionary, when it says ugly, this man's picture was listed there. But you know what? The more I had him as a therapist and the longer we worked together, I started thinking, this guy is really not unattractive. I never thought of him as beautiful physically, but he became beautiful to me because I saw what's going on inside. So, but that woman seems to want somebody who is physically handsome, not objectively, what's the one where
Subjective.
everybody subjectively?
Yeah.
Right? So she wants somebody that would just walk in and be handsome.
Yeah.
And the point that I was making to Richard is there's a certain kind of either narcissistic thing going on or just delusion, because the point is the guy that she's describing is going to be attractive to the vast majority of women.
Yeah, across the board, right.
Which brings up a situation where if you put that guy on Venice Beach and you're going to line up all the women who are interested in him, single file, but arrange them in the order of his preference,
Well,
the question becomes, what state will that woman
And
be in the line?
most of the
Massachusetts, maybe?
Most of the time, men are way more superficial than women.
I disagree. I disagree. Men's attraction is a bell curve. Women's attraction is a hockey stick.
I don't know. I think that I think that there have been, I'm older now, so I don't fit into this category anymore. But when I was younger, I don't think men wanted to date. I always had a strong personality. They didn't like that. They liked the pretty part. They didn't like the personality part. And they would always try to shush me up. And guess what? I didn't go out with them for very long. So the thing is, but it was the fact that they found me pretty and that I would look good on their arm that appealed to them. And I wasn't looking, I look at the brain, right? I am very attracted to smart men. They don't have to be that good looking. Because a handsome, dumb man doesn't do anything for me.
You don't want a himbo.
No himbos.
And even to bring up another, point to that, I've been different sizes my whole life.
Yeah, me too.
When I was 18 years old, I looked a hell of a lot different than I do right now. And I find that I attract better men as a larger woman. I find I attract men who actually want me for who I am.
Well, that's what I always say. When women say, oh, men want younger women, they want this, they want that. And I said, then you don't want that man.
That's the wrong one.
You don't want that man because
Correct.
that man is not going to make you happy.
Correct.
It's like, okay.
I just want to say, Paula, I sit and wait for an hour for me to get to do my double Dutch and it's like 6 words and then jump back out again.
Well, James, we have to keep you in line. You're dangerous. Your ideas are dangerous. Okay. Now, we don't have anybody. So as far as are you reading anything right now besides your schoolwork?
I know this is going to sound so terrible, but I can't remember the last time I actually read a book at all.
Do you have a library card?
No.
Go get a library card and put Libby on your phone.
Oh, for the love of God.
You can listen to books for free. It's amazing. Go get a library card.
I read the newspaper
I know.
every day.
I know you do. You're not a book reader. My daughter's
I'm not a
either.
book reader.
All right, so then we're going to have to revert back to your list, Richard.
Okay, Tom, could you put this up on the screen? This is going up for auction at Christie's. If you were in the crowd and you had some money, how much would you bid for it?
I don't particularly like it.
You wouldn't bid?
I wouldn't bid on it.
They're starting the bidding at $8 million.
Who is it?
Well, see, that's funny you should put it that way. You're not judging the art, you're judging the reputation of the artist.
Well, the artist, it makes a difference. I mean, if this is Bozo the the elephant, or if it's Picasso,
Well, that's the point I was going
Yeah.
to make.
That's the result of my last menstrual cycle.
Oh,
I was literally about to say the same thing.
Weren't you?
And that looks like a messy period.
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's a movie in movie theaters right now. All right, it's called The Kill Room.
Mm-hmm.
And what it's about is there's a mob that specializes in killing people, and they get paid handsomely for every time they kill somebody. But what do you do with the money? You can't put it in the bank because then the IRS will come after you. So they have to find a way to make it look like this money was legitimately made. So if they come up with an idea, they go to a failing art gallery, See how art ties into this?
Ah.
And they say to the person that, we know you're failing. You probably don't have enough money for even next month's rent. Here's a briefcase with $500,000 in bills. All right? I'm going to hand this to you when I see you tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask one of the people who work for me, just throw anything on a canvas. Just, you know what I mean? I will bring that to you, okay, with the briefcase. And I'm going to hand them both to you. And you're going to write me a check instead of for $500,000 for $450,000. And you're going to buy the painting. And the reason I want this is because the IRS, for example, if you had a 1972 Volkswagen, they would say you can't pay that much money for it. But a painting you could bid anything for, and the IRS will not challenge it.
Wow.
Because there's this craziness in the art world. You know, $8 million for that. You know, so they get clean money. And the gallery the gallery owner got $50,000 for doing nothing.
And Richard has a great idea for a new business. Wow.
So it made me wonder, how much of the art world is exactly that? It's people hurriedly putting things together so that it can be sold as a tax break.
Well, wasn't this the whole point of Trump saying that his real estate holdings, the value of them, it's whatever he says he thinks it could be.
It's similar.
Yeah.
Because instead of $18,000 or $18 million, it could be $180 billion, depending on who is looking at it. If I tell you it's worth $180 billion and you're willing to pay that, then why wouldn't it be? But the whole thing is that the IRS would say, well, if it's worth that much, then you have to pay taxes on the valuation. Oh, no, it's not worth anywhere near that much.
Yeah, well, that's what he was doing. He was, both ways.
Both ways.
Trump said something about that I thought was very revealing. He said, if you look at the document that was presented to the IRS from my accountants, the first paragraph says, the statements made in this accounting
shouldn't be paid attention to.
Are not necessarily true.
Yes. He has a disclaimer on the records he gives to the tax department.
What a jackass!
That means
not
nothing. That means nothing. You can just claim all you want. It has no meaning. It's like laughable.
Yeah.
But remember, the IRS tells you there are a million different ways to do anybody's taxes, and they're all wrong and they're all right. That's their talk.
Oh, God.
I don't have to worry about that. Same reason I don't have to worry about my yacht.
Well, here's the thing with the IRS and, looking at people and how they file and looking for discrepancies. There's actually been a study done. I forgot when I read it or where, but they make more money going after the people who are claiming less than $100,000 than they do the people who are making millions, because the people who are making millions have the resources necessary to hire, lawyers or whoever they may need to fight any sort of, and we don't.
So the people who are on the bottom, so...
Like any bully, they just don't want to hassle with people who are actually going to fight back.
So last year, if you sold merchandise online through Etsy or eBay, you didn't get a statement from those companies unless you earned $20,000.
Then it changed to $600, right?
$600.
Yep.
But there's a caveat to that as well. If you sell used merchandise, it doesn't count. So they're creating this whole infrastructure to bill people for money that they're selling used merchandise. So the people on eBay who are selling new stuff, they're maybe buying stuff from China and upping the price and selling it. Those people are really subject to that rule. But the people who are selling used merchandise, even if it's bought used to sell, it doesn't really apply to them.
Yeah.
However, they're still planning on coming after those people because it's not merchandise that they had on hand in their house. And like $600, it's ridiculous. It went from $20,000 to $600. And so all of these people who are just making ends meet, who are selling things online just to have a little extra money so they can put it aside or so they can, go on a vacation or something, they're all subject to this rule unless you keep really careful records. And it's really painful to keep these records.
It doesn't matter, Paula. All you have to do is talk to silver traders who've been in the business since the 80s, and they will all say retroactive plus penalties. The IRS changed the rules and then made it retroactive. How could you abide by a rule
But
that
this
didn't exist?
$600 rule is retroactive?
No, I'm talking about if you were a silver trader in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
The IRS changed the rules on how they taxed silver trades
Yeah.
and then said this rule is retroactive and you have to pay penalties if you didn't pay the tax that you didn't know about
That didn't exist.
because we just made it up.
Wow. That's fun, too. Instead of going after these people like Trump who have been cheating on their taxes since the day they were born. It's crazy.
Why are you attacking Trump all of a sudden? He's such a good man.
You have to stop dating him.
And his daughter.
All right. So that was my little
It was your little
spiel. My little spiel that I had to throw out there. But
What else has been going on this week? Oh, the Speaker of the House situation. Isn't that a joke?
All right, see,
we talked about that before you came. We were
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Did you see about the secret ballot and
Yeah.
how low it went?
Yeah.
Now, for those people in the audience, we should mention it.
Yeah.
They had a vote for him on Wednesday. I think he had got 119 votes. Then they had a vote on Thursday, and it went down to 112. So he came up with this plan for the next vote. It'll be secret ballots. So I know there's a lot of people out
Yeah,
there
that worked well.
that they want to vote for me, and this will put me over the top. When the secret ballot came out, he only got 87. So it was the opposite. It was people were voting for him to keep up with appearances, and in their hearts, they really didn't like him.
Yeah, they were doing
Now-
it with like a gag in the back of their throats.
So what do we conclude from that?
Who are we speaking about?
The
McConnell?
Republican
Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan
Jim
wanted
Jor-
to be the Speaker of the
Yeah.
House.
Okay, and McConnell is right now, right?
He's in the Senate.
Oh, okay.
No.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I get a little confused with that
Nobody
stuff.
is.
So we
Patrick McHenry is the acting. Is he still the acting?
Yeah, there's an
speaker?
acting
Yeah.
speaker. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
That's
always
Patrick
banging the
McHenry.
gavel real
Real
hard.
hard.
Bam!
Yeah.
Got a lot of frustration.
So how do you
For
interpret
some of the
that
audience,
vote,
that's like
though?
the interim UFC champion.
Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Nice.
There are people in the audience who know what
Oh,
I'm talking
all right. Yeah, Mick Hatton knows what you're talking about.
Yes, that's right.
So
we
we're-
have to give it to them in words that they understand.
So Paula and I were wondering if this is a sign maybe that the Republican, there's a area of the Republican Party that's saying, look, we've had enough. Let's get somebody of integrity in there.
Yeah.
Well, there is just not that. There's not a big enough portion of the Republican Party to make that happen. There's a lot of people. I see them on the TV, and they're all saying we need to do something about this. There just aren't enough of them.
Yeah.
There aren't enough of them.
Well, it was only 7 Republicans that took down McCarthy, and
I thought it was 8. Well, it doesn't matter. It's 7, 8. Doesn't matter.
the
Close enough.
I'm talking about McCarthy
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
McCarthy.
Joe McCarthy.
Joe McCarthy.
From the
Yeah.
50s.
Oh,
From the 50s, yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry.
So there's only 7 Republicans finally had enough, and they finally came out and they finally wrote out something and they took them down.
yeah.
7, and as soon as I heard that on NPR back when Trump was first president, I said, We just need those 7 Republicans. We just need those 7 people to come. But look what happens to them when they do. They're ostracized. You know, what's her name?
Liz Cheney.
Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
Liz Cheney's like actually a human being, and she's gone. You know, we got to get rid of Trump. That's what we need. We need to get rid of Trump.
You need people with spines.
And we need to get
In
rid
the
of
Republican
lobbyists.
Party.
Lobbyists are the root of all evil.
How are you
Super
going to get rid of
PACs
lobbyists?
and all that.
But make them illegal.
How are you gonna do
a
that?
law. Get a law. Pass a law. No more lobbyists.
Lobbyists will lobby against that.
Yeah.
They will. They will. You can't lobby against us.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're running the government.
Oh.
You know, these companies, the companies are running the government. You know, we don't have with the gun lobbies, the medical lobbies. All these people, they're spending zillions of dollars, and they're buying all these politicians. And these politicians say, "Oh, this is really nice."
Hey, we don't buy the politicians. We give their kids no-show jobs and say, "Don't forget 10 million for the big guy."
And you know, and they get, first of all, a lot of that guy that was running for the Speaker of the House, he was a high school wrestling coach.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jim Jordan.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
they-
doesn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't.
and he never put through one piece of legislation.
Nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
And if he didn't have this job, he'd have to go back to doing that. And you know how much money he wouldn't have a staff, he wouldn't have an office in Washington, he wouldn't have a car, he wouldn't have access to the private planes that they get. He wouldn't have any of that crap. He'd be a high school football coach or
You know
a
what we could do?
wrestling
You know what we
coach.
could do? If we all decided we could go to Washington and we could go to the Capitol building
And do what?
we could all converge on the building and turn things around. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Wait a
Done.
minute.
Will we stay in the freedom zone, or do we breach the
Do
free
we
speech
poop?
zone?
Do we poop on the building?
Caca.
It's like
Caca.
Yeah.
There's a caca.
It's like Triumph the comic insulted comic insult dog said, "Let's make a poop."
Jordan, do you see the new Jordan Klepper thing?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, the Daily Show's back on the air. So Jordan Klepper went to a Trump rally and he was interviewing people. He is the best.
Yeah.
He is the best at talking to those people.
Oh, God.
I swear to God.
Tell me why there's a minimum education requirement for people who are teaching our children, but there's not a minimum education requirement for the people who are running the country.
Yeah.
They call it democracy. But even, democracy with don't get me started with this.
Don't get me started.
What did those other crazy women, those two that one woman who was given a hand job at a musical
Oh, Bobert?
on a first date?
Lauren Boebert.
What? Tell me what she did before she did this.
Did she have a restaurant?
Did she have a job?
I don't know.
It was her first date with this guy.
And Marjorie Goofy Green. It was just,
Oh, yeah.
She's absolutely insane.
Well,
Wait, how did these people get elected?
Because
who voted for these
because
people?
Radicalism.
Our education system is turning out idiots.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
All right. So what do you mean? It says a minute 22.
It's 90.
It was
80
90
seconds.
seconds.
Oh,
at the
okay.
time.
All right. So we're rolling down here. So does anybody have anything that they need to say before we?
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday, Paul.
And
Oh, did he
James-
go?
Yeah, James too. On the 7th.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And for his birthday, he took his mother to dinner at a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
The next day, she didn't remember it.
Oh.
Well, you know what?
Was it that bad of a dinner?
Womp womp.
No,
Yeah.
she loved the
Oh,
dinner.
let's see.
My mother-in-law called
She's
me
just
the other
77 years
called
old.
me the
Oh.
other day and said that somebody took the phone out of her room. She's never had a phone in her room. I know, it's really sad. She's really, really dotty. But she became so much nicer when she lost her mind. She used to be so mean. Now she's really nice.
I got a funny
Oh.
one for you. My mother was married on the 4th of October. I was born on the 7th of October.
Same year?
No. Anyway,
Chocolate
she never
wedding.
remembered my birthday
Yeah.
until she lost her marbles. Now she remembers my birthday.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, bye. It's been really,
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah.
Fade to black, Tom.